Hello my beautiful friends, my name is Alexandria and welcome to my channel. So today I am finally going to be recording my most anticipated reads for the month of February. I'm doing things a little bit different this month because it is Black History Month, and I am going to be sharing my most anticipated new releases by Black authors that will be released this month. So if y'all would like to see that, then just keep on watching. Before we get into this video though, I would love for you to subscribe if you have not already and join the fun club of humans talking about books. Alright, so I'm going to do it in the same format that I did it last time. So I'm going to let you know what the book is and then read a little bit of the synopsis. I will have all the links to these books down below if you would like to check them out and or purchase them, whatever you would like to do. It's gonna be all down there for you. The first book that I am most excited about for this upcoming month is called The Violin Conspiracy. This is by Brendan Slocum. A riveting tale about a Black classical musician whose family heirloom violin is stolen on the eve of the most prestigious classical music competition in the world. Ray McMillan loves playing violin more than anything, and nothing will stop him from pursuing his dream of becoming a professional musician. Not his mother who thinks he should get a real job, not the fact that he can't afford a high caliber violin, not the racism inherent in the classical music world. And when he makes the startling discovery that his great-grandfather's fiddle is actually a priceless Stradivarius, his star begins to rise. So yeah, that's pretty much all that I'm going to read about the synopsis. I'm not gonna read the whole thing because this video will be a million years long. What I'm most excited about for this book is just to read about classical music from a perspective that I have not done before. I think I've read maybe like 2 books when I was younger about classical music. And am I okay? I think I read about like 2 or 3 books about classical musicians when I was younger, which is kind of shocking to me because I love classical music. It's something that has been a really big part of my life. I am not a classical musician, but I love listening to it. It's just really impactful for me. Reading about this, especially from the main character's perspective, who is a Black man, is going to be something that I need and something that I may not realize that I have needed. I hope that this will give me some more insight onto the world of classical music and the way that people may have moved through the experience of becoming a classical musician as a person of color. It'll just be really fascinating, and I will probably listen to classical music while I am reading this. So I was actually going to wait until I had a physical copy of this book because I did choose this for my credit for a book of the month for this month, and I'm very excited to have it in my presence. So let's just pretend that I'm holding it up, visualize that, because it will be happening eventually. But I'm so excited about this book. This is called Don't Cry for Me by Daniel Black. Like I said, this is a book of the month option for the month of February if you would like to check this out. I believe this is a debut novel, if I am remembering correctly. But basically this is about a Black father who is writing a letter to his son on his deathbed. I remember a couple years ago, one of my favorite books was, well, the first memoir that I read that I can remember was The Last Lecture, I believe, and I believe that was written by a man who was also on his deathbed, and I really enjoyed that. And a book that is written in letter form is kind of vaguely reminiscent of On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous for me. The perspective is just kind of flipped because instead of from the son's perspective to the mother, it's from father to the son. And I just think this is going to be really powerful, very riveting, probably going to make me cry despite the title that says Don't Cry for Me. I will definitely be doing some crying while reading this book because familial storylines just always get me. And I haven't read too many books from the perspective of a father to a son, and so I think this is going to be extremely powerful, and I am very much looking forward to reading it. Being a parent for me and being able to see kind of the end of a person's life and them reflecting on their relationship with their child and the mistakes that they may have made and how they're communicating these things and hopefully going to reconcile any things that happen throughout their experiences, and also seeing how legacy may be passed down or trauma may be passed down, all of these things wrapped up into a wonderful novel. I'm just really stoked to read this one. All right, so this next book is called What the Fireflies Knew, and this is by Kai Harris. This is a coming-of-age novel told from the perspective of 11-year-old KB as she and her sister try over the course of a summer to make sense of their new life with their estranged grandfather after the death of their father and the disappearance of their mother. Over the course of a single sweltering summer, KB attempts to get her bearings in a world that is turned upside down. A father who is labeled a fiend, a mother whose smile no longer reaches her eyes, a sister, once her best friend who has crossed the threshold of adolescence and suddenly wants nothing to do with her, a grandfather who is grumpy and silent, the white kids across the street who are friendly, but only sometimes. All of them are keeping secrets. Through KB's disillusionment and subsequent discovery of her own power, What the Fireflies Knew poignantly reveals that heartbreaking but necessary component of growing up, the realization that loved ones can be flawed, sometimes significantly so, and that the perfect family we all dream of looks different up close. It might not be a middle grade, it might be YA. I'm actually not sure, so I am looking forward to finding that out and also reading this as like a coming of age story that kind of explores heavier topics, heavier themes. Is something that I really enjoy and really appreciate, and something that I'm definitely going to keep in mind and keep in my library for as my children grow up, and hopefully introduce them to these things to kind of get their minds working and hopefully help them navigate through any other challenging experiences that they may have had in their lives or may have in their lives, and also for my own inner child to be able to help me kind of process and work through anything that may arise from reading these things. So I think this is going to be a wonderful book. My child has a bunch of little kitty figurines and bunnies, and they're all naked and they're all staring at me. I just got very distracted. All right, so this one I'm super excited about because the cover is absolutely beautiful. I think the cover was the first thing I saw, and then I read the synopsis and I was like, yes, yes. So this is called Nobody's Magic. This is by Destiny O. Birdsong, and let me just read a little bit of the synopsis. With Nobody's Magic, Destiny Birdsong has given us a devastatingly beautiful, sexy, searing gift. These are stunning, irresistible stories of Southern Black womanhood that I will return to again and again. And that was written by Disha Filia. In this glittering triptych novel, Suzette, Maple, and Agnes, three Black women with albinism, call Shreveport, Louisiana home. At the bustling crossroads of the American South and Southwest, these three women find themselves at a crossroads of their own lives. This novel, told in 3 parts, is a searing meditation on grief, female strength, and self-discovery set against a backdrop of the complicated social and racial histories. Nobody's Magic is a testament to the power of family, the ones you're born in, and the ones you choose. In these 3 narratives, among the yearning and the loss, each of these 3 women may find a seed of hope for the future. I think I talked about last month Wahala, I believe it's called, and that is a story following, I think, 3 different women as well. And so I feel like there's kind of a theme of like me wanting to read more books about women friendships, and also being able to have the variety of like different people going through different experiences and having different perspectives. It's just something that I find really interesting. I need some water. If there is like magical realism or like magical undertones or even like references to magic or like metaphors about magic, that'll just make it even mo better. I don't know why I felt the need to say that, but anyway. The next book that I have is called Mirror Girls. This is by Kelly McWilliams. As infants, twin sisters Charlie Yates and Magnolia Heathwood were secretly separated after the brutal lynching of their parents, who died for loving across the color line. Now, at the dawn of the civil rights movement, Charlie is a young Black organizer in Harlem, while white-passing Magnolia is the heiress to a cotton plantation in rural Georgia. The sisters reunite as teenagers in the deeply haunted town of Eureka, Georgia, where ghosts linger centuries after their time and dangers lurk behind every mirror. They couldn't be more different, but they will need each other to put the hauntings of the past to rest, to break the mirror's deadly curse, and to discover the meaning of sisterhood in a racially divided land. I feel like the theme for this entire month of new releases is just going to be like familial relationships and maybe grief and processing those things. And so this one sounds really interesting. Vibes similar to like Passing or The Vanishing Half, where we have two sisters kind of living very, very different lives and then reconnecting. And I think there is going to be some magic in this as well, as her reflection mysteriously disappears from mirrors, the sign of a terrible curse. I think that's going to make the story even more intriguing, even more interesting. All right, so the next book that I have on my list is by Bethany C. Morrow. This is called Cherish Farrah, and I have seen a couple of people reading this book and talking about how good it is, so I am even more excited about it. I read my first book by this author at the end of last year. I read the Little Women remix that they wrote, and I absolutely loved it. From best-selling author Bethany C. Morrow comes a new adult social horror novel in the vein of Get Out meets My Sister the Serial Killer, about Farrah, a young calculating black girl who manipulates her way into the lives of her black best friend's white, wealthy, adoptive family, but soon suspects she may not be the only one with ulterior motives. Told in Farrah's chilling, unforgettable voice and weaving in searing commentary on race and class, this slow-burn social horror will keep you on the edge of your seat until the last page. I don't read a lot of horror, I don't read a lot of thrillers, but that being said, if it's an author and a story that I find intriguing, I am just obligated to check it out. So this sounds like something that will be really interesting. I did read My Sister the Serial Killer, I think sometime last year. I was a little bit iffy about how I felt about it, but this book sounds really, really interesting. Her infiltrating this family and like, I don't know what's gonna happen, honestly, and I don't wanna know, I just wanna be surprised. All right, so the next book that I have is called The Great Mrs Elias. This is by Barbara Chase Ribaud, and this is basically following a black woman who is extremely wealthy, one of the richest black women in America in the early 1900s. Packed with glamour, suspense, and drama, populated with real-life luminaries from the period, The Great Mrs Elias brings a fascinating woman and the age she embodies to glorious, tragic life. So when I read the synopsis, I was getting some vibes of like Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, even though I don't think she's like a movie star or something, but just following the progression of her life. She's a very wealthy woman, and I think how she got to that place is going to be a very, very interesting story, and probably not going to be in the ways that I expect. And I just love learning about people and like doing like a character study kind of in that way. This next one is actually the second book in a series by Marlon James. I was hoping to read the first one this month, but I am thinking that's probably not gonna happen because I've been a little bit overambitious. But this book is called Moon Witch Spider King, and this is the second book in the Dark Star trilogy. So the first book is Red Wolf, Black Leopard, I believe. And there's been a lot of like mixed things about this book. I've heard a lot of people really love it. I've heard a lot of people really don't like it. I've heard that there's a lot of like triggering topics throughout this book, and so I'm approaching it very carefully. And yeah, I'm hoping that I'll be able to read this because I've heard, like I said, I've heard really good things. And it says that this is his African Game of Thrones, which like, what? That sounds absolutely wonderful. The next book that I have is Wild Imperfections, an anthology of womanist poems. This is by Natalia Morbazzi. And this cover is absolutely beautiful as well. I love that hair color and like the color scheme, contrast. It just makes me really happy. I have not read a lot of poetry. That is something that I would like to do more of in the future, and I think that this will be a good way to get into poetry when it is about a topic that I am interested in and want to learn more about. Just the things that they're going to be talking about, like questioning and disrupting patriarchy. These poems speak about birth and death, fertility and infertility, war, exile, and forced migration, but also revel in joy, desire, and the expression of sexuality and the erotic. All right, so the last book that I have is called Carolina Built. This is by Kiana Alexander. It says, this exuberant celebration of Black women's joy as well as their achievements novelizes the life of real estate magnate Josephine Leary in a previously untold story of passion, perseverance, and building a legacy after emancipation in North Carolina. When she moves to Edenton, North Carolina from the plantation where she was born, she is free, newly married and ready to follow her dreams. As the demands of life pull Josephine's attention away, it becomes increasingly difficult for her to pursue her real estate aspirations. Her story speaks to the part of us that dares to dream bigger, tear down whatever stands in our way, and build something better for the loved ones we leave behind. I love reading stories about Black people creating a legacy, being able to move forward and change our futures for our children and for ourselves. I think that that's really impactful and really inspiring, and something that I am very much looking forward to reading. So that is the last book that I have on my list for this month. If you have any of these books on your TBR, let me know down below. I would love to maybe chat about them. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're staying safe, and I hope you're all finding joy in whatever way it is that you can. I love you. Bye.